Hello, I'm John Weiler with the Sovereign Passage Assembly, and this is our daily brief for February 6th, 2019. We're going to continue on with our study of Parsha Yithro, and the reading for this week is Shemoth, or Exodus chapter 18, verse 1 to chapter 20, verse 23. Yesterday, we finished up with chapter 19, where Elohim tells Moshe to sanctify the people, and on the third day, within 3 days, he's going to come down and meet with them. And Moshe does that. We discuss that Moshe still sanctifies us because that's the word of Yah. It's the Torah. Okay, we're told through Mashiach for us to be sanctified through the truth. Your word is truth. So Moshe sanctified the people, are made pure, or complete, and they're instructed not to come up to the mount, to not even touch it, or else they will get shot or stoned. And it was for the benefit, because to come up to see in the presence of Elohim, they would die. They would die. And so they do that. And as Elohim comes down, it is very terrifying. And he comes down in the smoke and fire on the top of Mount Sinai, and it burns the top, and we have the remnant of that today, still in Saudi Arabia. But there's a shofar too that was sounded, and it was very, very loud, and then it got louder and longer, and then it shook everything, shook the earth violently, and it was very scary. Then Elohim calls Moshe up, and Moshe comes up, and he says, tell the people, make sure that they don't come up, that they don't break through to gaze upon Elohim. Because we're told that we can't, man, which the word for man is ish, cannot look on the face, which is panim, of Elohim and live. And it's because man is contrary. We talked yesterday about the choices, and we're going to continue with that concept as to how we're even here to begin with. So how Yisrael is right here at the base of the Mount of Elohim, and how we are here right now. It's because of the choices in the beginning. So man cannot exist with Elohim because man is contrary. Okay, that means we're opposite. In the Garden of Eden, Eve, or Hua, and A'dam chose the words or the way of the serpent. So we can't look upon the goodness, which is the panim, the face of Elohim, which is righteousness, and live. So that was put in place that they can't break forward and go up to gaze Elohim, but Moshe and Aharon were chosen to do that. Moshe was commanded by Elohim to sanctify or purify, make pure the children of Yisrael. So he did, okay? And we left them, Moshe going back down to tell the people, and YAHUAH says, you shall come up, you and Aharon with you, but not let the priests and the people break through to come up to YAHUAH, lest you break forth upon them. So Moshe went down unto the people and spoke unto them. So what we're getting here, though, is that there is a method or a path that we have to take in order to dwell with YAHUAH Elohim. Now, we have an understanding today through the propitiation of our desire to be contrary to Elohim, that we now can have or be houses of the Ruach HaKodesh. Okay, so the propitiation or the death and resurrection of Yahushua HaMashiach has created a sanctified dwelling place for the Ruach HaKodesh, and we're sanctified through the truth, which is the Torah or the instructions of YAHUAH. For Yasharel is upright. Okay, the Yashar is the upright, and El of El. Okay, so today we have the complete word. We have the Mashiach who has taken the what would be the consequence of our desire to live contrary to the way of Yah, which is death. That's what equals death, which is separation from Elohim. And then his resurrection is what allows us to enter back into this relationship, which will then be our covenant, our Bere'shiyth. It's our relationship promise with YAHUAH ELOHIYM again. And then we can be one or together or Yachad, which is life. Okay, that's in the grand scheme. That's what it comes down to right now. But let's go back to the beginning, because the beginning is so very, very important to us. Let's talk first about what occurred. Okay, what was made here in the beginning? So man, let's go to the creation of man, or A'dam. A'dam is, it means ruddy or rosy or reddish, as in living, okay, like what we see with the living body. Okay, that's what A'dam, one of the meanings for A'dam. Okay, so let me find my spot here. I'm sorry. The fourth day, fifth day. Okay, so on the sixth day, Elohim said, "Let the earth bring forth the living creature after his kind, cattle and creeping thing, and the beasts of the earth after his kind," and it was so. So now we're going back to Bere'shiyth chapter 1, we'll start on verse 24. Okay, that was verse 24. And 25 says, "And Elohim made the beast of the earth after his kind, and the cattle after their kind, and everything that creeps upon the earth after his kind. And Elohim saw that it was good. And Elohim said, Let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps upon the earth." So Elohim created man in his own image. In the image of Elohim created he him. Male and female created he them. And Elohim blessed them. And Elohim said unto them, Be fruitful and multiply, and replenish the earth, and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over every living thing that moves upon the earth. And Elohim said, Behold, I have given you every herb bearing seed which is upon the face of all the earth, and every tree in which fruit is the fruit of a tree yielding seed. To you it shall be for food. And to every beast of the earth, and to every fowl of the air, and to everything that creeps upon the earth, wherein there is life, I have given every green herb for food. And it was so. And Elohim saw that everything he made, and behold, it was very good. And the evening and the morning was the sixth day. Okay. So it was a creation of A'dam, of man, and everything that creeps on the earth. And what he's given was food, which is herb, green herb for food. Okay, that's the only food right there that was created in the 6 days creation. Now, we also know when we're studying Bere'shiyth, the very first portion of the Torah, that this is what we have. We have a 6-day doctrine of creation, with the seventh is the Sabbath rest. So once we come to the belief of the way of YAHUAH, okay, the belief of YAHUAH Elohim, then we can see the world, all right, that's was created here and what it is. And we can also see where we are in the world as far as the timeline goes. We don't know exactly where we are within that timeline, but we can see what state we're in based off of the things that have occurred here over our history and our time frame. So what this means then is that a day to YAHUAH is 1,000 years to us. 1,000 years to us is a day to YAHUAH. That's what Kepha, or Peter, writes in his epistles. So we know that a day to Yah is 1,000 years to us. So we have 6,000 years of the span of man on this earth, and then another 1,000, which is the millennial reign of our Mashiach, okay, when he returns. And that is the Sabbath. Okay, so chapter 2, verse 1 in Bere'shiyth, it says, "Thus the heavens and the earth were finished, and all the host of them. And on the seventh day Elohim ended his work which he had made, and rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had made. And Elohim blessed the seventh day, and sanctified it," made it complete, "because that in it he had rested from all his work which Elohim created and made." Okay. So there's the complete 7 days of creation. Okay. Seventh is the Sabbath day. So the 7,000th year is our Mashiach's reign, okay, the Sabbath rest. And we're going to talk about that here a little bit further as we start to go into the Parsha today. Okay, but continuing on in Bere'shiyth chapter 2. "These are the generations of the heavens and of the earth when they were created, in the day that YAHUAH Elohim made the earth and the heavens, and every plant of the field before it was in the earth, and every herb of the field before it grew, for YAHUAH Elohim had not caused it to rain upon the earth, and there was not a man to till the ground. But there went up a mist from the earth, and watered the whole face of the ground. And YAHUAH Elohim formed the man out of the dust of the ground, and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life," the nephesh, the breath of life. "And the man became a living soul. And YAHUAH Elohim planted a garden eastward in Eden, and there he put a man whom he had formed. And out of the ground made YAHUAH Elohim to grow every tree that is pleasant to the sight and good for food, the tree of life also in the midst of the garden, and the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And a river went out of Eden to water the garden, and from thence it was parted and became into 4 heads." And then it talks about that. Okay, so to go back here now, so YAHUAH Elohim planted a garden eastward in Eden. The word garden means like hedgerow or protected area. So he created a protected area. And Eden means like a place of, it says to live voluptuously is the description to it. But it is like a place of senses, with our senses as pleasure, but it's kind of hard to even use the words voluptuous and pleasure, because how we relate that in this life, in this body, is like sex and sexual. But it is described in that fashion as something that is the pleasure that is of the highest. Okay, someplace that is just what we could just say is just amazing, but protected by YAHUAH. Okay, that's the garden. It's the hedgerow, or the walled off area, and that's where he placed man. And then all the trees that is pleasant to the sight and good for food, the tree of life is in the midst of the garden, and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. So we've been talking about the Torah being the tree of life. Okay, we've talked about Torah. The root word of Torah is yara, which means to flow as water. So we see the rivers that are coming out of the garden, and that they go out and water the earth. All right, so it goes into 4 rivers, 4 heads. But the tree of life is the word of YAHUAH, of whom the Mashiach was the manifestation of. Okay, he was the physical embodiment. and came and tabernacled. Elohim came and tabernacled among men through Mashiach. So we have the tree of life, which is Yara, which is to flow as water, which is the way of Yah, okay, the word of Yah. And that's what heals us, and that's what sanctifies us, makes us complete. And there's also the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Okay, good and evil. So now we know that man cannot look on the face of the panim of Elohim, face of Elohim, and live. But we've just read here where man was made in the image of Elohim. He's made in the image of Elohim. So man and Elohim were the same. Okay, they're made identical in a sense, in the image of. So like if we can picture this, you just stand and look at yourself in a mirror. And you're looking at the mirror. So you're looking at an image of yourself. So that's how A'dam was made. So we're placed in this protected area where he was complete. Okay, this is the place where he is at now. And it's that completeness is that it's the highest pleasure. Okay, they're safe, to be safe, and in this garden, and have the highest amount of happiness, that the best thing that we can imagine in this fallen state that we're in now. Okay, and then YAHUAH Elohim in verse 15, chapter 2, verse 15 says, YAHUAH Elohim took the man and put him into the Garden of Eden to dress it and to guard it. So it's a walled off area, or a hedgerow around garden in Eden, which means to live voluptuously, or pleasure, much pleasure. And Elohim took the man, put him in there, who's in the image of Elohim, to dress it and to guard it. So to take care of it, that's the role, the job of the man, and to guard it. And YAHUAH Elohim commanded the man, saying, every tree of the garden you may freely eat, but the tree of the knowledge of good and evil you shall not eat of it, for in the day that you eat thereof, you shall surely die. Okay, so he says, all this to include the tree of life you can eat freely. But do not eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, because when you do that, you will surely die. So we have this warning. We've actually just come across two commands, because the first one, back in chapter 1, was to be fruitful and multiply, replenish the earth and subdue it, okay, to have a dominion. And we have also where he's taken and put in the Garden of Eden to dress it and to guard it. And now is, while you're here, okay, you're in my image, don't stray from my image, is what he is speaking there. It says, do not eat of this tree, the knowledge of good and evil, or therefore you shall surely die. So now we have this thought concept in our mind of Elohim being the goodness. Okay, the panim, or the face of Elohim, is all the things that are righteousness. Okay, that's a Ruach HaKodesh, the Ruach Elohim, the Spirit of Elohim, that we can now freely partake of through the will of YAHUAH, as he divides as he will amongst his people, his chosen people. But it's all the good characteristics. Okay, so there's that. Okay, so whether or not it's actual food that we're looking at here too, that we're talked about, and that trees are actually trees, because we know that the tree of life is Torah. Okay, we've talked about this in the past. We currently don't have Bere'shiyth up on the Sovereign Passage website, but I will put out a very detailed understanding through the Word. Okay, through the Word to help with this concept that has put us where we are now. Okay, and to get a broader understanding that the Word, as what our goal here is to be Yachad, or one again with Elohim, because right here we were one with Elohim. A'dam was one currently at this moment. What caused the break in that relationship, which then caused us to break, as the creation to break, was the choice here. Okay, so YAHUAH ELOHIYM in verse 18, chapter 2, makes a woman. Okay, so this is not good for a man to be alone. I'll make him a helpmeet for him, and out of the ground, YAHUAH ELOHIYM formed every beast of the field and brought him to the man to see what he would call them. So whatsoever the man called, that was the name. Gave names to all the cattle, the birds of the air, and every beast of the field. But for the man, there was not a helpmeet for him. So YAHUAH ELOHIYM caused a deep sleep to fall upon the man, and he slept, and he took one of his ribs close to flesh, and the rib which YAHUAH ELOHIYM had taken from the man made he a woman, and brought her unto the man. And the man said, This is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, because she was taken out of man. Therefore shall a man leave his father and mother, and shall cleave unto his woman, and they shall be one flesh. Now they were both naked, and the man and his woman were not ashamed. Okay, that's the end of chapter 2 in Bere'shiyth. So every man shall leave his father and mother, and shall cleave to his woman. Okay, so we call the two being one flesh. And the same concept is with us now, as we're going to get into our covenant, which is our marriage relationship, to cleave to YAHUAH. So we become one, or Yachad, okay? Come one again. And it says that they were both naked, but they were not ashamed. Okay, to be naked is to be without a covering. That's how we know it. You know, we're covered in clothes, covered in hair, whatever. But they were now, and it's still in the image of Elohim. Okay, so the woman was taken from man. Man was formed by Elohim. The breath of Elohim is what animated the man, how we can picture that anyways. And he was made in the image. Okay, so that means that he had the characteristics of Elohim, the good characteristics of Elohim. So, going on now, it says in chapter 3 in Bere'shiyth, the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which YAHUAH ELOHIYM had made. So this, what we get here with the serpent is that it was created with the beasts of the field, which we get in day 6. Okay, so in Elohim, back in chapter 1, verse 24, it says, Let the earth bring forth living creatures after his kind, cattle, creeping thing, and beasts of the earth after his kind, and it was so. So back in chapter 3, it says, Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which YAHUAH ELOHIYM had made. And he said unto the woman, Yea, as Elohim said, this is the serpent speaking, Ye shall not eat of every tree of the garden. And the woman said to the serpent, We may eat of the fruit of the trees in the garden, but of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, Elohim has said, Ye shall not eat of it, neither shall you touch it, lest ye die. And the serpent said unto the woman, You shall not surely die, for Elohim knows that in the day ye eat thereof, then your eyes shall be opened, and you shall be as Elohim, knowing good and evil. Okay, and the Elohim there is not YAHUAH ELOHIYM, it is as Elohim themselves, like to be gods are elevated as the masters. Okay, Elohim, as not as they were created in the image of Elohim. Okay, as the master of many powers, that's Elohim. But you shall be a master yourself of many powers, which is something different than in the image of the master of many powers, Elohim. So it said, And you shall be as Elohim, knowing good and evil. So that would be the change, the shift there, is to know the good and to know the evil. And when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was pleasant to the eyes, and that the tree to be desired to make one wise, she took of the fruit thereof and did eat, and gave also unto her man with her, and he did eat. And the eyes of them both were opened, and they knew that they were naked. And they sewed fig leaves together and made themselves aprons. So what they did is they removed the covering of El, okay, by making that choice right there. Because what they had and how they were created was harmony with Elohim. So in the image of Elohim. And they were Yachad, or one, together. So the covering, or what is to be naked and not be ashamed is the way or the relationship that has brought this creation of A'dam in the image of Elohim, and they are one. So there was no reason for them to feel ashamed in their lives, because how they were walking is in harmony or completeness with Elohim, their creator. So now as the serpent that entered in and then asked, okay, all the serpent did, it was just began with a question. It said, did Elohim say that you shouldn't eat of all the trees here? And the woman said, yeah, well, we can eat of all the trees in the garden except the one in the middle there. Elohim said, you shall not eat of it, and neither shall you touch it, lest ye die. And the serpent said unto the woman, you shall not surely die, because Elohim knows that when you do that, your eyes are going to be opened, and you yourselves should be as Elohim, knowing good and evil. So you yourselves can be like the Creator, okay? Knowing good and knowing evil. And then the woman saw that it was good now. Okay, whereas before she said, no, we're not supposed to eat of it, and we're not to touch it, because Elohim doesn't say that, to touch it. But, to be thinking about something that we shouldn't even have anything to do with, right? But then she turns and she looks and she says, wow, that sounds really good. That thought, to be creators, okay, to be Elohim, knowing good and knowing evil. To be, now it looks good, and now it looks like something that I want to do because that makes me wise. Makes me wise. And so she took the fruit of that and ate the fruit. Okay, so whatever occurred right there. And she gave unto her man with her, and he did eat. And we got to remember that the woman came from man, physically came from man, and was made that way. Okay, made in a very similar fashion, but from the rib of the man. So we can see a character or a potential concept there of the desire of man that is manifested in the actions of the woman here. Okay, this desire of this creation of man wanted to be wise, wanted to be Elohim. Okay, but then once they did that, they saw that they were naked, because now they had removed the covering of Elohim from them and assumed their own covering. All right, because now they had desired to be Elohim, knowing the difference between good and evil. And so they try to cover themselves now. All right, so they sewed fig leaves together, and made themselves aprons. And when they heard the voice of YAHUAH Elohim walking through the garden in the cool of the day, and the man and woman hid themselves from the presence of YAHUAH Elohim among the trees of the garden. Okay, so at this point, they have changed in the desire. Okay, we can say that they were changed in the ruach. Okay, because that's where our thoughts are. Right, that's our thoughts, our emotions. That's how it's put to us today as we grow up in the scientific world. But it's really our spirits. Okay, that's what drives everything. It's driving our body. It's moving my hand around right now. It's helping me to read this and then to speak it. Okay, that's our spirit that's driving that. So they made that decision right there to be contrary. Okay, or to walk against the way of Yah, because up to this point they were walking with, in harmony with, living in harmony. That means their thoughts, words, and then their actions were of Elohim, because they're made in His image. And then when they changed that direction, that desire in their ruach, then they began to walk contrary. So now they could be Elohim. They could know the difference between good and evil. Okay? We have this concept of Elohim being the creator. Elohim is the one that created A'dam, breathed life into him in His image. So now, and Elohim knows the difference between good and evil. He's the creator of everything, every single thing. But it is the goodness, that the face, the panim, the face of Elohim, that man cannot look upon and live because of this choice right here. Because they have chosen to become Elohim. Not the Elohim. They have broken the connection from that with the choice or the desire to be Elohim. And YAHUAH tells them that if you do this, you will surely die. But they made that choice anyways. So now there's two things that occurred there. One, they desired to elevate themselves, and they listened to the voice of the serpent. And two, they did not believe YAHUAH. Because he tells them, if you do this, if you eat thereof, you shall surely die. They did not believe. It was their disbelief that led to this chain of events which led to death. Okay? And we see that cycle all throughout history of Yah's Word and the history of our world. Okay, so YAHUAH comes down and they hide themselves, okay, from his presence. And YAHUAH calls to A'dam and says, "Where are you?" Okay, I can just picture, "Hey, where are you?" And he said, "I heard your voice in the garden, and I was afraid because I was naked and I hid myself." And YAHUAH Elohim says, "Who told you were naked? Have you eaten of the tree whereof I commanded you that you should not eat?" And the man said, "The woman whom you gave to be with me, she gave me of the tree, and I did eat." Now, does Elohim not know these things? Would be a question. Does Elohim not know that this was going to happen? Does Elohim know the end from the beginning, before? Is everything to the will and the purpose of Elohim? What is Elohim? So, he asks questions. Who told you that you were naked? Have you eaten of the tree whereof I commanded you that you should not eat? He knows the answer. But A'dam says, the woman you gave to be with me, she gave me of the tree, and I did eat. The woman came from him. The woman was made from his rib. YAHUAH made her, but she came from his flesh. And for the two to be one, to be cleaved together, to be complete. Okay, and that's where life comes from. It's where man and woman are joined together, and life is the result. Same thing as with us in our relationship with YAHUAH. We cleave with the Ruach HaKodesh as one, Yachad. Life results from that. Okay, but we see here the man says, as a woman. It was that desire of the woman. But that woman came from man. So it was really the desire of A'dam, the desire of man. All right, and she took it, and she gave it to me, and I ate it. And YAHUAH Elohim said to the woman, "What is this that you have done?" And the woman said, "The serpent beguiled me, tricked me, and I did eat it." Did the serpent trick her? No. The serpent tempted her, okay, but was not dealing in a false way, like sit down in this chair, I'm going to pull the chair out from underneath of you. He tempted her. Okay, did he lie? Well, yeah, he did, because they do die. Right? They will surely die. And the entire creation, that's what we're born into, is death. And now we have the serpent who is our accuser, okay? And that's the role of the serpent here. But she says, the serpent beguiled me, and I did eat. And YAHUAH Elohim said unto the serpent, because you've done this, you are cursed above all cattle, and above every beast of the field. Upon your belly shall you go, and dust shall you eat all the days of your life. Okay, dust can also be nefesh, or the ruach. Okay, the ruach. And I will put enmity between you and the woman, and between your seed and her seed. And it shall bruise your head, and you shall bruise his heel. And also to go back to dust, too, we got to remember what A'dam is made out of, is dust. Okay, the dust of the earth, things of this world. So that turns back into dust. Okay, from dust we were made, dust we will return. So we see the serpent as the, right now, as we've been talking through Shemoth, having the authority, okay, of this world, which is the things of the flesh of this life, which is the result of what happens right here. So cursed above all cattle. And there's enmity between you and the woman, between your seed and her seed. Shall bruise your head and shall bruise his heel. Stepping on it. Okay? But that's our Mashiach, because that's what happens is the devil, or the dragon, is booted out of Shemayim, or the expanse above the earth, the sky, okay, that's heaven, what we have a concept of heaven, but is booted out, that the dragon who is standing in front of the throne of YAHUAH, accusing man, that's the devil, the accuser, night and day, was then kicked out of that area because of the death and resurrection of Mashiach now, and that's how the dragon is on the earth, very angry, and went to make war with the remnant of the seed of the woman, and has a short amount of time, okay, and that's what we talk about, and we're talking about it in Revelation, okay. So, but here we've got enmity between you and the woman, between your seed and her seed. It shall bruise your head, and you shall bruise his heel. So unto the woman he said, I will greatly multiply your sorrow and your conception. In sorrow you shall bring forth children, and your desire shall be to your man, and he will rule over you. And unto A'dam he said, because you have hearkened to the voice of your woman, and have eaten of the tree which I commanded you, saying, you shall not eat of it, cursed is the ground for your sake. In sorrow you shall eat of it all the days of your life. Thorns also and thistles shall it bring forth to you, and you shall eat the herb of the field. In the sweat of your face shall you eat bread, till you return to the ground, for out of it you were taken. For dust you are, and unto dust you shall return. So we see a lot of the visuals in that terminology with the thorns and the thistles that go up and choke the seed. And the ground being not pleasant or not the best for the word of Yah to take root and to grow. So we see what the world is going to be like during this time. And for us to get back to this state that was forsaken here for the desire to be Elohim is going to be very challenging. We'll have to really work at it, because the world will be against this way, okay, the way of YAHUAH. And that in and of itself is what proves us for what we desire, to have this relationship that we had right here when A'dam was originally made, the creation in the beginning. Okay, now what happens next is A'dam names his woman YAHUAH, because she was the mother of all living. And then YAHUAH Elohim made coats of skins and clothed them. The coats of skins aren't necessarily, we have a picture like it killed an animal, but one of the words we're going to read tomorrow is shall not kill. So YAHUAH doesn't say that he killed an animal to make clothing for the people. It says YAHUAH Elohim made coats of skins and clothed them. So at this point, death had not entered into the creation yet, until right here. Well, really when they chose it, but this is all happening at that point. They were made to die. Okay, we were made now as this. Coats of skins and clothed them. And then YAHUAH Elohim says, behold, the man is become as one of us, to know good and evil. And now, lest he put forth his hand, and take also of the tree of life, and eat and live forever. There is no way that can happen. Okay, we cannot enter into the relationship being contrary. There's only one way. That's what we've been discussing here for quite some time. There's only one way, and if we try to go any other way back into this relationship, it results in death. It's impossible for that to happen. That's why Yashua had to be sanctified or purified to be able to be in this state right here because of the direction or the choices of the first man, okay, and the woman who came from the first man. So there's no relationship anymore, okay. So Yahweh Elohim says, "Behold, the man is become as one of us, to know good and evil. Now, lest he put forth his hand, and take also of the tree of life, and eat and live forever. Therefore Yahweh Elohim sent him forth from the Garden of Eden, to till the ground from whence he was taken. So he drove out the man, and placed at the east of the Garden of Eden cherubim and a flaming sword, which turned every way to guard the way of the tree of life." So now we have a spiritual being called a cherubim that has a flaming sword that turns every which way, guarding the way to the tree of life. Okay. Very challenging. Extremely challenging. Okay, so man has become as one of us, is what Elohim says. El is singular. Okay, for master, Elohim is a plural, more than one. But we know Elohim to be the characteristics. What we call today is characteristics, but they're ruach, are spirits. And there are many as far as the gifts given to us today, which are the ruach Elohim. So we have Chokmah, which is wisdom, Emetz, truth. There's spirit of prophecy, spirit of healing, spirit of tongues, okay, that were given through the writings of the apostles. But even for us to be able to speak right now and to even talk about this is through the Ruach HaKodesh, the Holy Spirit, the Spirit of Elohim, the set-apart Spirit of Elohim, set apart from this world. The world that we're in right now is created because of this point right here. And it's all because of the desire to be Elohim. They wanted to be Elohim. It says, the serpent said in verse 4 in chapter 3, the serpent said unto the woman, "Ye shall not surely die, for Elohim knows that in the day ye eat thereof, then your eyes shall be opened, and ye shall be as Elohim, knowing good and evil." So they were already in the image of the master of many powers, which is the good, that we can no longer look on because we chose to be Elohim, knowing good and evil. So now that we have the desire to know the difference, which we call wisdom here, that's what humans call wisdom, because that's what YAHUAH looked at. And the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was pleasant to the eyes, to the tree, a tree to be desired to make one wise. And then she took of the fruit and ate it. Okay, so whatever that action was, and it changed her. The desire to be wise, to no longer be as Elohim, but to be Elohim, knowing good and evil. Okay, so now let's go to our reading. Let's go to Shemoth chapter 20, and we're going to read 1 through 12. That's where we're going to end here, because the first, what we could call the first 5 words here, is this relationship that we begin to incorporate with Elohim in our path back to being one again, to be under the covering, or to be in harmony, walking in harmony, to be joined together again with Elohim. Be as we were before this decision to be Elohim and know good and evil ourselves. Okay, so let's read chapter 20, verse 1 through 12 in Shemoth, our Exodus. "And Elohim spoke all these words, saying, I am YAHUAH ELOHAYKA, which has brought you out of the land of Mitsrayim, out of the house of bondage. You shall have no other Elohim before me. You shall not make unto you any graven image, or any likeness of anything that is in the heavens above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. You shall not bow down yourself to them, nor serve them. For I, YAHUAH ELOHAYKA, am a jealous El, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and guard my commandments. You shall not take the name of YAHUAH ELOHAYKA in vain, for YAHUAH will not hold him guiltless that takes his name in vain. Remember the day of the Sabbath, the Shabbat, to keep it holy. 6 days shall you labor and do all your work, but the seventh day is the Shabbat of YAHUAH ELOHAYKA. In it you shall not do any work, you nor your son, nor your daughter, your manservant, nor your maidservant, nor your cattle, nor your stranger that is within your gates. For in 6 days YAHUAH made the heavens and the earth, the sea, all that is in them is, and rested on the seventh day. Wherefore YAHUAH blessed the Shabbat and hallowed it. Honor your father and your mother, that your days may be long upon the land which YAHUAH ELOHAYKA gives you. Okay, we'll stop right there. All right, so this begins with a declaration. It's not really an introduction in a sense, but a declaration, because this is Elohim speaking all these words. And he's saying, I am YAHUAH ELOHAYKA, which have brought you out of the land of Mitsrayim, out of the house of bondage. So I am that I am, your El, okay? YAHUAH ELOHAYKA. I am that I am that I am, your El, okay? ELOHAYKA. Which have brought you out of the land of Mitsrayim, out of the house of bondage. Okay, the name of YAHUAH, I am that I am, that was made manifest through Yahushua HaMashiach. Okay, we read that a couple of days ago. It's John chapter 17. He has made Yahweh's name known to those YAHUAH Elohim had given to Yahushua HaMashiach, made the name of YAHUAH known to them, and was made manifest the name of YAHUAH. So we know that the name of YAHUAH is the way of YAHUAH, or the way of Elohim. So now we can picture to walk in the way of YAHUAH. That's what Moshe will declare to us, for us to choose life, to walk in his ways, Yahweh's ways. And we'll be told again through John to walk as the Mashiach walk, who is the manifestation of the name of YAHUAH. Okay? I did not come to end the law of the prophets, the Torah of the prophets, but to fulfill. The word fulfill is pleru, which means to fill up or make complete. So he is the completeness, the manifestation of the name of YAHUAH, which is our way back to Elohim. That's what's being stated here. I am, this is the way back to your El. I am YAHUAH ELOHAYKA, which have brought you out of the land of Mitsrayim, out of the house of bondage. If the Son sets you free, then you are truly free. Yahushua HaMashiach has freed us from bondage of sin, or the choice to be Elohim, knowing good and evil. That bondage that has occurred because of that, that's being contrary, okay, to make our own choices, to go away from the way of Elohim. This is the beginning of the way, how to come back to Elohim. Okay, you shall have no other Elohim before me. Now, we just read where A'dam, YAHUAH, and A'dam chose to be Elohim, knowing between good and evil. You shall have no other Elohim before me. Now, does that mean that human beings are Elohim? They were clothed with skin. Okay, that's what A'dam and Chuah, when they were booted out of this protected area of immense pleasure, the Garden of Eden, of completeness that Adam was tasked with guarding and keeping. Okay, guarding and keeping. And then he listened to the piece of him that chose to be a God himself, okay, an Elohim himself, knowing between good and evil. Meaning now that they can make the decision to follow the way of Yah, this path right here, or to be contrary to it. You shall have no other Elohim before me. We picture gods like fake, what we call fake gods. But we picture the things of worship that you bow down to. Okay, and that's what these things become manifest. They manifest into. And for us to bow down to today, you know, what are we bowing down to today? And to giving the authority that we're following words of, directions of, examples of. You shall have no other Elohim before me. Okay, and Elohim is man. All right, that's a choice of A'dam and Chuah through the serpent. Okay, so they're hearkening to the voice of the serpent. What that really means right there is that you shall have nothing before this path, YAHUAH ELOHAYKA, this path, the name of YAHUAH to ELOHIYM. Nothing goes before that. Nothing. People, goods, comfort, respect, whatever that is, nothing goes before Elohim. This opportunity to go back to the way we were. Okay, the second, that's one. Okay, second, you shall not make unto you any graven image, or any likeness of anything that is in the heavens above. Nothing in the sky. Okay, Shamayim is the sky or the heavens above. We have the sun, the moon, the stars, and birds. Okay, and now we have airplanes and satellites. Okay, nothing like that. Nothing, no likeness of anything that we say is Elohim, is YAHUAH Elohim, or anything that is in the earth beneath. Okay, so there's nothing here that we say is God. Okay? Or in the water under the earth. You shall not bow down yourself to them nor serve them. For I, YAHUAH ELOHAYKA, am a jealous El, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and guard my commandments. That love him, guard his commandments, because I am YAHUAH ELOHAYKA. I am that I am, I will be that I will be. This eternal way that will never end of Elohim. Okay, this for us to love him and guard the way of YAHUAH to Elohim, to the completeness. Okay, where we were. Jealous in the usage here, Strong's H7065 means kana, which means to be zealous. To be zealous means to be very passionate, like heated love. Like I can't live without you. Okay, to be zealous. Graven, shall not make unto you any graven image. That's Strong's H6458 is pasal. It means to carve, whether wood or stone. Okay, it's to make something and say this is God. Now, we see a lot of it. I mean, there's a lot of worship items that we can see with this graven image. You look at the Pope. Pope's got a staff, and maybe not the new Pope here, but the one before it had a staff with the tortured Jesus on there, the tortured Christ on there. There's all kinds of statues of Jesus all around. Everywhere you go, there's statues of Jesus, crosses. There's all these things. But these are images that we can relate that are not Elohim. Okay, because Jesus is not Yahusha. Cross is not Yahusha. The cross can be a tav, which is a mark. That's tav is a mark. But it's still not an item, shouldn't be an item of worship for us. Okay, if we want the mark of Yah, so that's the aleph and tav. Okay, that's the tav, that's the mark of Yah. It's the aleph and tav. But if we're carrying around this cross that is paying homage to a God that that will forgive you for everything, no matter what you think or how you want to be, which is being Elohim, knowing the difference between good and evil, elevating yourself, which is what A'dam and Chuah did in the beginning, continuing on with that same desire, contrary to YAHUAH ELOHIYM, then that is not Yahushua HaMashiach. Because Yahushua HaMashiach gives us the opportunity to enter back into this relationship that we have forsaken all the way back in the beginning. To fix this choice so we can become one again with Elohim. YAHUAH ELOHAYKA, YAHUAH ELOHIYM. So, that's one way that we can see a graven image today. I mean, we can see it with a house that we built that we love above everything, or something that we do that we place before this desire to be one with Elohim again, Yachad. So that's just about everything that we have today. Like, it doesn't matter what we do. If we got a business and we're trying to work real hard to make money, well, there we go. Okay? Or, if we got a family, we're striving really hard to make them look good, especially in front of the eyes of people, and raise them up to be good leaders in the world that's run by the serpent. Okay? That's not following the way of Yah. That is not getting back on this path that Mashiach, that YAHUAH gave us through Mashiach, so that we can be Yachad with Elohim. Ruach HaKodesh, Ruach Elohim. So, there are things that we see. There's things that we don't see that are graven images, and there are things that we do that we're not really currently aware of, even now today as we're striving to seek Him through His Word. So, and truly it's up to us, because we know the difference, right? Good and evil. So it's up to us to desire that, okay? To desire the way of Yah, the YAHUAH, the name of YAHUAH. And we have that ability now through Mashiach, who was the name manifested. He manifested His name. Okay, so that's two. Third one is, you shall not take the name of YAHUAH ELOHAYKA in vain, for YAHUAH will not hold him guiltless that takes His name in vain. Vain is Strong's H7723 as shav. And shav means, or can mean, or is used as evil, as in destructive. So, you shall not take the name of YAHUAH ELOHAYKA as evil or destructive. The second can be ruin. You shall not take the name of YAHUAH ELOHAYKA in ruin. Third is, and what it says here in like the additions in the Strong's Concordance is like especially morally, but guile, which is like false or using trickery. So you shall not take the name of YAHUAH ELOHAYKA falsely, or to cause somebody to stumble. Okay, so trickery, kind of like what the serpent did. That's what she said, that the serpent beguiled me. Okay, the next usage is as idolatry, as in not the right way, which is what we talk about with the statues of Jesus. So you shall not take the name of YAHUAH ELOHAYKA as idolatry. The next usage is uselessness, as in deceptive. So you shall not take the name of YAHUAH ELOHAYKA deceptively, which makes us useless. Another use is false. Okay, you shall not take the name of YAHUAH ELOHAYKA falsely, and then as an adverb is in vain. Okay, so there's a lot of ways to take the name, which is the way of YAHUAH, and use it destructively. Okay, as evil, destructively. And we have the way that the serpent does that in the temptation of Yahushua in the wilderness, where he used the word of Yah in vain. Okay, he misused it in the attempt to destroy. But Mashiach, who is the manifestation of YAHUAH, the name of YAHUAH, which is the way, knows the difference because he's the manifestation, and corrected him with the word of YAHUAH. We're required to do the same thing as desirers to follow YAHUAH, the way. That is our role here, because that's all that we see is the name of YAHUAH ELOHAYKA taken in vain, to destroy all around us. The closer that we draw, the more evident that is for what we see. Okay, so that's 3. Number 4 is remember the day of the Shabbat and keep it holy, the Sabbath. Keep it holy or set apart. 6 days shall you labor or work and do all your work, but on the 7th day is the Shabbat of YAHUAH ELOHAYKA. In it you shall not do any work. You, nor your son, nor your daughter, nor your manservant, nor your maidservant, nor your cattle, nor your stranger that is within your gates. For in 6 days YAHUAH made the heavens and the earth and the sea, and all that is in them. And on the 7th day he rested. Wherefore YAHUAH blessed the day of the Shabbat, the Sabbath, and hallowed it, made it holy. Okay, and that's what we read back in Bere'shiyth chapter 2. And on the 7th day Elohim ended his work which he had made, and rested on the 7th day from all his work which he had made. Elohim blessed the 7th day and sanctified it, because that in it he rested from his work which Elohim created and made. Now many people I've talked to in beginning, there's a lot of things that they choose not to believe in the word of YAHUAH just because we don't want it. Okay, we're still wanting to be Elohim. All right, the knowledge of good and evil is the choice here. So now we have the knowledge of both. Now we have to choose between the two. So we want to choose the evil, and we want to stay Elohim. We want to stay the ones that we can be the creators of our own fates, but it ends in death. But I've talked to many people, just in conversation, all right. And one of the points that have come up is like, how can a God work for 6 days and then have to rest? I just don't get it. How can a God that's omnipotent and knows everything and creates everything, how can that God then want to rest? Well, we know that that's not the point. That's not the point of it. We know that the Shabbat was made for man, and the man was not made for the Shabbat. That's what Mashiach tells us. But it's made for us in this way now, in this life, so that we rest. We don't work ourselves to death, and we don't focus on the things. We focus on Him, YAHUAH, to get back into that relationship. But let's go forward then, so we have an understanding with Mashiach now. Let's go to Hebrews chapter 3, and we're going to read verse 12 to the end of chapter 4. Take heed, brethren, lest there be in any of you an evil heart of unbelief, and departing from the living Yah, but exhort one another daily while it is called today, lest any of you be hardened through the deceitfulness of sin. For we are made partakers of Mashiach, if we hold the beginning of our confidence steadfast unto the end. While it is said, today, if you hear his voice, harden not your hearts, as in provocation. For some, when they had heard, did provoke, howbeit not all that came out of Mitsrayim by Moshe. But with whom was he grieved 40 years? Was it not with them that had sinned, whose carcasses fell in the wilderness, and to whom swore he that they should not enter into his rest, but to them that believed not? So we see that they could not enter in because of unbelief. Let us therefore fear, lest a promise being left us of entering into his rest, any of you should seem to come short of it. For unto us was the Besorah preached, as well as unto them. But the word preached did not profit them, not being mixed with belief in them that heard it. For we which have believed do enter into rest, as he said, as I have sworn in my wrath, if they shall enter into my rest. Although the works were finished from the foundation of the world. For he spoke in a certain place of the 7th day on this wise. And YAHUAH did rest the 7th day from all his works, and in this place again, if they shall enter into my rest. Seeing therefore it remains that some must enter therein, and they to whom it was first preached entered not, because of unbelief. Again, he limits a certain day, saying in David, today, after so long a time, as it is said, today, if ye will hear his voice, harden not your hearts. And that's in Psalms 95. For if Yahusha, the son of Nun, had given them rest, perchance another would speak again of this day. There remains therefore a Shabbat for the people of Yah. For he that is entered into his rest, he also has ceased from his own works, as YAHUAH did from his. Let us labor therefore to enter into that rest, lest any man fall after the same example of unbelief. For the word of YAHUAH is quick and powerful, and sharper than any two-edged sword, piercing even to the dividing asunder of soul and ruach, and of the joints of the marrow, and is the discerner of the thoughts and the intents of the heart. Neither is there any creature that is not manifest in his sight, but all things are naked, and open unto the eyes of him with whom we have to give an account. Seeing then that we have this great high priest that is passed into the heavens, Yahusha, the son of ELOHIYM, let us hold fast our profession. For we have not a high priest which cannot be touched with the feeling of our infirmities, but was in all points tempted, like as we are, yet without sin. Let us therefore come boldly into the throne of grace, that we may obtain mercy and find grace to help in time of need. So our Sabbath rest is when Mashiach returns, and what we are striving for is to enter into that rest. Because we have now this relationship that's given here to Yasharel, who's pulled out of Mitsrayim, and they don't want it either. They say it'd be better if we died out here in the desert, in the wilderness, in Bamidbar, in this place of teaching and testing. That's wilderness. They said it'd be better if we died here than to go into the rest that YAHUAH was giving them. And it was Yahusha, son of Nun, was the one that took them in across the Yarden, passed over the Ark of the Covenant, backed up the Yarden River, all the way to A'dam, the city of A'dam. That's what Mashiach does for us. He backs everything back to A'dam to allow us, the son of Elohim, Yahusha, son of Elohim, to again be as we were all the way in the beginning. So, it's up to us, is what this writer is saying here, that we enter into this rest through our belief. Belief in the words of Elohim, which A'dam and Chuah did not. Otherwise, they wouldn't have listened to the serpent. They would have just continued the way of their creation, of the image of Elohim. But they chose to want to make the choice. The knowledge of good and evil. Okay. So we have that Shabbat that we keep today, because that's our first appointment that we're given right here. Very, very important. Because at this moment, when Mashiach returns for us, then his people, his chosen, his elect, will then be raised with him. Yahusha is the son of Elohim. A'dam was made in the image of Elohim. So when we're raised in the image, we now have the ability to house a Ruach HaKodesh, dependent on our desire, our heart's desire, spiritual desire, to be with Elohim. YAHUAH, the name of YAHUAH, is the way to be one with Elohim. So we have that ability now during this time to where our desire is. Whereas A'dam and Chuah, they didn't have that desire. They had the desire to be Elohim and to make their own choices, their own creation of their lives. Okay, we are the ones that will be the master of our own fate. We'll know the difference between good and evil. And as soon as that happened, death entered into the creation. Okay, so now the last is honor your father and your mother, that your days may be long upon the land which YAHUAH ELOHAYKA gives you. Okay, upon the land. which YAHUAH ELOHAYKA gives you. Okay, your mother, all right? We know our father, okay? Our father, that's what we just read there in the letter to the Hebrews, is that Yahusha is the son of Elohim, okay, the son of. So the son can only see what the father does, can only speak what he hears the father speaking. Okay, that's what the name that Yahushua HaMashiach came in was the name of YAHUAH. Okay, the name of YAHUAH. He was the name of YAHUAH made manifest, made flesh. So he was the way. He was the completeness. He was fulfilling the fulfillment of Torah, which the root is yara, to flow as water. So the healing waters was the Mashiach. That's the name he came in. He didn't come in his name, Yahusha. He came in the name of YAHUAH. So you follow, we follow, walk as the Mashiach walked, which is the correct way of how to apply the way of YAHUAH to this life right here. That all amongst us is evil. Okay, evil is contrary to the way of Yah. So your father and your mother, he tells us who our father is and how to pray. And that's when his disciples asked, how are we going to teach us how to pray? Teach us how to do it like Yehukanan, the immerser. Okay, John the Baptist. During the time of Yahusha, it seems to be a very confusing time in that part of the world, because there are all these different types of religions of how people have put together how to approach YAHUAH. Okay, they were not the name of YAHUAH. Okay, they weren't what we're getting right here. And Mashiach comes. John the Baptist tells in the beginning of John, let me find that here real quick, that he didn't recognize him until the Ruach HaKodesh descended on him. So in John chapter 1, verse 32, it says, "And Yehukanan bore record, saying, I saw the Ruach descending on him from heaven above, and an abode on him. And I knew him not, but he that sent me to immerse with water, the same said unto me, Upon whom you shall see the Ruach descending and remaining on him, the same is he which immerses with the Ruach HaKodesh. And I saw, and I bore record that this is the Son of Elohim." So, during this time, the Mashiach, people knew that the Mashiach was going to be here, Yehukanan, the immerser, directly from YAHUAH, okay, because he was doing an immersion of repentance, okay, or teshuvah, which is to turn back to the way of YAHUAH. And he was immersing with water to show the immersion in the way of Yah. Okay, so what he was doing here was a physical action, baptizing, for what we understand it anyways, in the Yardan. But we have the term immersing, okay, and then we have understanding of water. So it also could be not that, okay. It also could be immersing with just the word, as in teaching the correct way, or being the fulfillment of the Torah. And what would be lacking here is the Mashiach, because without it, there's no way that we could enter back into the relationship, because Yasharel had been divorced. So it's the death and the resurrection of the Mashiach. So, anyways, very, very challenging time here. But he gives the we find the Mashiach. Okay, and then we know the Mashiach is Yahusha. And we know Yahusha was a propitiation. He was a fulfillment of the Torah, and all the ways of approaching Elohim was fulfilled or made complete through him. And then his resurrection allows us now to enter back into our covenant, or our Bere'shiyth, which is a marriage promise. to YAHUAH, okay, because he was Elohim, manifest, okay, manifestation of the way to Elohim, the son of Elohim, as Yehukanan just put it. So, he gives us our Father, who art in heaven, who is in the realm outside of our realm here. Holy be your name. Okay, set apart is your name, YAHUAH, which is set apart from the world. The path is different to Elohim. Okay, so we have to follow your way. Holy, which is set apart, be your name. Your kingdom come. So we repent, because the kingdom of YAHUAH is at hand. Your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Your will for us as the creation, your creation of what we are seeking in this relationship to be one again. Your will be done on earth as it is in Shemoth. Give us this day our daily bread. Bread is the word, the food for our ruach. Forgive us our trespasses. Forgive us our choice to not be, to chase, to seek after the relationship. Forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. Because if we can't forgive, we're not going to receive it. Daily bread, forgive us trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For yours is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever and ever. So we know who our Father is. We honor our father and our mother. Okay? YAHUAH ELOHIYM, YAHUAH ELOHAYKA. Now our mother is what sustains us. Okay? And that's put to us as Yerushalayim. Yerushalayim as our mother. Yerushalayim is a combination of two words. One is Yara, which is to flow as water, which is also the root of Torah, the instruction. Yara is Strong's H3384. Okay, so the Torah, or the instructions, Yara, to flow as water, to be the living founts of living water. And then the second half of Yerushalayim is Shalom, which means to be safe or to be made complete. That's Strong's H7999. Yerushalayim, Yara Shalom, to flow as water, to be safe or complete. Okay, the healing waters. That's Yerushalayim. Okay, let's go to Isaiah chapter 66, and we'll finish out here today. We'll read 1 through 24. Thus says YAHUAH, the heavens are my throne, and the earth is my footstool. Where is the house that ye build unto me? Where is the place of my rest? For all those things is my hand made, and all those things have been, says YAHUAH. But to this man will I look, even to him that is poor and of a contrite ruach, and trembles at my word. He that kills an ox as if he slew a man, he that sacrifices a lamb as if he cut off a dog's neck, he that offers an oblation as if he offered swine's blood, he that burns incense as if he blessed an idol. Yea, they have chosen their own ways, and their soul delights in their abominations. I also will choose their delusions, and will bring their fears upon them, because when I called, none did answer. When I spoke, they did not hear, but they did evil before my eyes, and chose that in which I delighted not. Hear the word of YAHUAH, ye that tremble at his word. Your brethren that hated you, that cast you out for my name's sake, said, let YAHUAH be glorified. But he shall appear to your joy, and they shall be ashamed. A voice of noise from the city, a voice from the temple, a voice of YAHUAH that renders recompense to his enemies. Before she travailed, she brought forth. Before her pain came, she was delivered of a male child. Who has heard such a thing? Who has seen such things? Shall the earth be made to bring forth in one day? Or shall a nation be born at once? For as soon as Zion travailed, she brought forth her children. Shall I bring to the birth and not cause to bring forth, says YAHUAH? Shall I cause to bring forth and shut the womb, says your Elohim? Rejoice ye with Yerushalayim, and be glad with her, all ye that love her. Rejoice for joy with her, all ye that mourn for her, that ye may suck and be satisfied with the breasts of her consolations, that you may milk out and be delighted with the abundance of her glory. For thus says YAHUAH, Behold, I will extend peace to her like a river, and the glory of the other nations like a flowing stream. Then shall ye suck. Ye shall be borne upon her sides, and be dandled upon her knees. As one whom his mother comforts, so will I comfort you, and ye shall be comforted in Yerushalayim. And when ye see this, your heart shall rejoice, your bones shall flourish like an herb, and the hand of YAHUAH shall be known towards his servants, and his indignation towards his enemies. For behold, YAHUAH will come with fire, and with his chariots like a whirlwind, to render his anger with fury, and his rebuke with flames of fire. For by fire and by his sword will YAHUAH plead with all flesh, and the slain of YAHUAH will be many. They that sanctify themselves and purify themselves in the gardens behind one tree in the midst, eating swine's flesh, and the abomination and the mouse, shall be consumed together, says YAHUAH. For I know their works and their thoughts. It shall come that when I will gather all the nations and tongues, and they shall come and see my glory, and I will set a sign among them, and I will send those that escape of them unto the nations, to Tarshish, Pul, Ludi, that draw the bow, to Tubal and to Yavin, to the isles afar off, that have not heard, that have not heard my fame, neither have seen my glory. And they shall declare my glory among the other nations. And they shall bring all your brethren for an offering unto YAHUAH out of all the nations upon horses, and in chariots, and in litters, and upon mules, and upon swift beasts, to my holy mountain, Yerushalayim, says YAHUAH. And as the children of Yasharel bring an offering in a clean vessel into the house of YAHUAH. And I will also take of them for priests and for Leviim, says YAHUAH. For as the renewed heavens and the renewed earth, which I shall make, shall remain before me, says YAHUAH, so shall your seed and your name remain. And it shall come to pass that from new moon to his new moon, and from Shabbat to his Shabbat, shall all flesh come to worship before me, says YAHUAH. And they shall go forth and look upon the carcasses of the men that have transgressed against me, for their worm shall not die, neither shall their fire be quenched, and they shall be an abhorring unto all flesh. Okay, so our mother is the completeness. So we honor this way is to flow as water, which is Torah, which is the name of YAHUAH, which then brings shalem, or completeness, healing. And we're to speak the healing words, the living water, which is healing for the nations. We speak these words of healings to others, who then take that and they change to seek YAHUAH, to where they can now house Ruach HaKodesh. We're comforted as a mother comforts, as he will comfort you, and you shall be comforted in Yerushalayim, to flow as water, to be safe or complete. And we give that to others who are seeking the same thing, who can hear the same thing, to help them, to where they become the founts of living water. They drink, and then they give to others, and it's passed on, knitting into a body with our Rosh, the head, Yahushua HaMashiach. Okay, it's amazing. So, we'll stop there because we can keep going on too with the new Yerushalayim coming down that Yehukanan sees. Okay, that the bride of the Lamb. But we'll stop right there. I just suggest you on your own go ahead and read that in the Revelation. But here we are with I am YAHUAH ELOHAYKA. This is the way. You shall have no other Elohim before me. You shall not make unto you any graven image. Shall not take the name of YAHUAH ELOHAYKA in vain. Remember the day of the Shabbat. Keep it holy. Honor your father and your mother. So, I hope that these words and This path that we can see now through His Word has helped you as it's helped me to solidify what is really being said here. What is really the path? What really happened? What really occurred in the beginning that led to this and led to us now? And it will lead to the Mashiach returning. Praise Yahuwah. And it helps us to see that so then we can further conform ourselves to the image of ELOHIYM. Because that's ultimately what happens. That's what we're called to do. To walk as the Mashiach walked in the way of YAHUAH, which is the path that leads to ELOHIYM, the path that leads to the way it was in the beginning. Okay. Well, have a great rest of your day. And we'll be back here tomorrow, and we'll finish out the rest of the 10 Devarim in Parsha Yithro. Thank you.